Okay, so this is how I manifested my way out of $40,000 worth of debt. This is how I tackled it. So, number one, I got really real about my debt. I was not looking at my bank accounts. I had $40,000 worth of debt. I kept getting credit cards, I maxed them out. Then I remember trying to apply for another credit card to pay off that credit card with interest free and all this, and they declined me. And it was like, oh no, I need the money, I need the credit because I can't afford to pay for food. It's not very funny, but at the time, I remember this surge of shame and scared. I was scared, I was embarrassed, I didn't want to ask for money because I got myself into the mess. No one was going to help me. I didn't have parents that would pay to pay off my debt. I wasn't getting any extra income. Anyway, so I got really real about the numbers. I had to look at my bank account. I had to see where my money was going. And my money was going to silly things like Uber Eats or Uber or going out, drinking, going out to restaurants, spending too much money on stuff that wasn't going to fulfill me. So I got really real about my money situation. While I was doing that, I was changing my language around money. So the way I thought about money, which was, I can't afford things, I'm going to be poor forever. That I had to flip that. And again, I said this in another video. The biggest one was when I'd say, I can't afford that, or that's too expensive. I would say, I'm not going to factor that in right now. I don't want to budget that in. I don't want to put that in my budget right now. I'm not factoring that in right now. If someone said, let's go overseas, do you want to go on this holiday? And my first thought was, I can't afford it. And that's what I would generally say to people. Oh, I can't afford it. Complain victim. No, I would say, oh, that sounds amazing. I don't want to factor that in right now. And I still talk like that to this day. If I don't have the cash, I don't spend it. I don't put things on credit anymore. I just pay for things in cash. Okay, so the next thing I did was, this is the Dave Ramsey thing, and I loved watching Dave Ramsey. Now, I want to go a step further and say that I feel like it's very rigid if we're talking about manifestation. I think Dave Ramsey doesn't understand manifestation, and he tells you not to go to restaurants or have a holiday or do anything like that. And I think that that's very scarcity. But anyway, it helped me get out of debt. So I used the debt snowball, which is basically you pay off your smallest amount of debt. So my smallest credit card, you pay that off first, and then you go up and up and up until you pay off everything. You firstly save an emergency fund of $1,000. So I did that. I saved $1,000 in my emergency fund, and then you tackle each debt from smallest to highest, and that's what I did. Saved $1,000 in my emergency fund and paid off each debt one by one, smallest to largest. Okay, if you need to pay the minimum repayments, obviously, but you need to chip away at the smallest debt up to the largest. Then you save another emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses, living expenses, so that you have that buffer. If something goes wrong, if you lose your job or you need to go to hospital or whatever it is, you just have that buffer of 3 to 6 months living expenses. Then you start investing. Okay, so that is how I tackled my debt. That is how I paid off my debt. And now I am saving and investing. That's all. That is actually it. I don't know what else to say, but I think what Dave Ramsey probably doesn't touch on, which I think is more important than this step-by-step debt snowball thing, is your mind. If you constantly think you can't afford anything, if you say things like I did out loud, I'm poor, I'm always going to be poor, or whatever you think about money. Like, you have to get really real about how you and money coexist. If you see yourself as the person that can never afford anything, that is always going to be struggling, is never in overflow, is not abundant, that is how your money story will show up. And that is something you need to change. That is what you have to work on daily. And I still work on this because I grew up very scared of money, very everything we couldn't afford. I got a job so I could buy everything I wanted, which was basic things like shoe. I didn't just buy one shoe. Shoes. I never asked for anything. If I wanted something, I paid for it. I can't remember. I remember my parents buying me things, obviously, but I more remember being excited to buy the Rip Curl t-shirt that I wanted because I'd saved, because I had money, because I had a job when I was 14, right? Now, I don't think that didn't help me. That made me very scared to lose money, and that's all that showed up in my life. I didn't work enough because the thing is, when you grow up in scarcity, well, this is my story anyway, when I grew up in scarcity, so I created that myself. That's why I believe in this. That's why I know this to be true, because I created more scarcity for myself because I didn't want to save my money. I didn't want to work hard. I didn't want to. Yeah, it was so weird because I never had enough and I always wanted more, but I made it so that I never had enough, and so that it was really scarce for me, and so that I got into debt, and so that I had to use credit cards. I made it my life like that. I put myself in situations where I wouldn't have enough. Like I would go overseas and I'd pay for the flight on credit, and I'd be overseas in a ball of anxiety because I couldn't really afford it. And so I never enjoyed my overseas trips to the fullest because I never had enough. But that was so normal for me. It was so normal for me to be anxious about money because that's all I grew up with from day one till I changed my own story in my 30s. That's what I grew up with, this scared feeling. And I just kept recreating it over and over and over because my subconscious was, you never have enough, scarcity, you're going to run out, you're only going to have, don't spend too much. If you spend too much, you'll run out. I don't know. That's how I felt most of my life. And I recreated that. It's simple as that, right? That's it. Like your story whatever your story is, whoever you believe you are, is how you will show up, and you'll recreate it. Even subconscious. You don't even know you're doing it. I didn't know I was doing it. I just thought I was unlucky. Even though I made just as much as some people who probably save for a house, I don't know. Okay, let me know if that resonates or if that helped you. Please subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next video.